Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our Hanafi fiqh class. We are doing the kitab known as Sunan of Maulana Zafar Ahmad Thanvi rahimahullah. And tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we are starting from a new chapter. We're still dealing with the broad heading of the chapters relating to purification, tahara. And tonight, inshallah, we've been dealing at least for a bit now with the issues surrounding women. So tonight is another such chapter. So let us begin. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So tonight's chapter is Babu anna al-mustahadata tatawadda'u li waqti kulli salatin. The chapter regarding a woman in a state of istihaadhah, that she will make wudu for the time of every salah. That's the chapter that we're dealing with. Now, Istihaadhah, before actually reading the hadith, the istihaadhah is the state that the woman is bleeding beyond the limits, let's put it this way. So when a woman is in a state of haid, maximum haid is 10 days for the Hanafi madhab. Madhab may differ amongst themselves, but for the Hanafi madhab, 10 days is the maximum. So once a woman bleeds beyond 10 days, there's not one half a day even beyond that point. After 10 days is over, any bleeding that she has is deemed as being istihaadhah. And likewise, when it is a case of the nifas, the woman has given birth and she's bled beyond 40 days. 40 days is the absolute maximum nifas. So if she bleeds for a 41st day, then that 41st day onwards is now istihaadhah, and the 40 days, it was its maximum. If she was in the habit of bleeding 40 days, then sure, 40 days would have been a nifas. If she had a habit, then as you know, the rest, she would revert to her habit and the rest would be deemed as being istihaadhah. But anyhow, so we're dealing with the chapter, and the words used in this chapter is in this title heading, that تتوضأ لوقت كل صلاة. She makes wudu for the time of every salah. So that's an integral point of importance to understand, that she makes a wudu for the time of each salah. But let's read the hadith and then we can come back to discuss the mas'ala behind it. So we are doing hadith number 345. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت: سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن المستحاضة قال: تدع الصلاة أيامها ثم تغتسل غسلا واحدا ثم تتوضأ عند كل صلاة. رواه ابن حبان في صحيحه كما في كنز العمال، وإسناده صحيح على قاعدة كنز العمال المذكورة في خطبته. So we are reading the first hadith of the chapter. Hadrat Aisha radiallahu anha, she was asked, or at least she mentions that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked with regards to a woman in a state of istihada. And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what should a woman in istihada do is tada'u salata ayyamaha. She should leave off performance of salah for her days, meaning the days of her habit or the days of maximum of 10 days. Thereafter, ثم تغتسل غسلا واحدا. Then she makes one ghusl. So we'll work on the maximum of 10 days to have a proper understanding. So she leaves off salah for 10 days if she's been bleeding for all 10. Then 11th day, تغتسل غسلا واحدا. She makes one ghusl. One time, finishing the story. ثم تتوضأ عند كل صلاة. Then she will make wudu by the time of every salah. عند كل صلاة, for every salah. Now, Imam Ibn Hibban rahimahullah reports this hadith in his Sahih. It's mentioned in Kanzul Umal by Muttaqi al-Hindi rahimahullah. The chain of narration is authentic, as is according to the principles of Muttaqi al-Hindi rahimahullah, which is mentioned in the khutbah of his kitab in Kanzul Umal. Nonetheless, muhaddithin have graded the narration as being authentic, so one way or the other, it doesn't exactly make much difference. Now, the important point to note over here is the words liwaqti kulli salah, the time of each salah. In other words, let us put it this way: a woman is in a state of istihada and the time of dhuhr comes in. So let's say dhuhr comes in at 12:20, for example, or let's say 12:30, just to round it off at an equal number. So 12:30 in the day, the time of dhuhr comes in. This is the waqt of every salah. So 12:30 comes in, she makes a wudu. then that wudu, obviously, provided she don't go to toilet and do other things which breaks her wudu, that wudu will remain despite the fact that she's bleeding one way. That wudu will last right up until, let's say, for example, Asr comes in at 5 o'clock, then that wudu will run from 12:30 until 5 o'clock. The minute it reaches 5 o'clock, immediately that wudu breaks. That is what is liwaqti kulli salah, how the istihada works. So if a woman has, for example, she made wudu at 12:30, then she was laying around, cooking, cleaning, doing whatever she was doing that delayed her, and 5 o'clock came in, her wudu breaks. She can't say, but I have not made wudu. I mean, I haven't made salah yet, so my wudu is intact. No, it's not. You're not making wudu for each salah. You're making wudu for the time of each farad salah. That's how the ruling works. So that's in that case. On the flip side of the coin, if a woman has made now her wudu 12:30, now she decided, hey, you know what? I make my dhuhr one time. So 10 minutes later, it's 20 to 1, and she's done with her dhuhr salah. So she's got from 20 to 1 until 5 o'clock. That wudu still remains intact. So she can make all her sunan, all her nawafil, all her qada salat. She can read the Quran. She can do whatever she wants to. That wudu remains intact. If she's reading the Quran and it's 4:59, and then it reaches, the clock strikes 5, her wudu immediately breaks. She must put the mushaf down, go and make another wudu, and then that's how it continues. That is the ruling of tatawadda'u liwaqti kulli salah. She will make a wudu for the time of each salah. So the day is divided into 5 periods. So from the time of, let's work from dhuhr. So dhuhr comes in from after zawal. The dhuhr runs right all the way until asr. Obviously, every part of the world differs, but speaking from a South African context, dhuhr runs from after zawal, which is when the sun reaches its zenith. It runs from that time until the time of asr. Asr begins immediately from that point. It runs right through until the time of Maghrib. So even though it's a makruh time when the sun is busy setting, but it is still essentially the time of Asr. So Asr runs right up on the dot when Maghrib comes in, Asr ends. Maghrib runs right through until the time that Isha sets in. And Isha runs right through up until the time that Fajr sets in. Fajr, however, Fajr ends once the sun has begun to rise. So from the time of sunrise, when it's risen, up until the time of zawal, that is the only period of the day that is not a salah time, according to the Hanafi madhab, obviously. Other madhab obviously differ. Some would end Isha at the middle of the night, not midnight, not 12 o'clock, but they would count night from the time of Maghrib versus Fajr, and where it meets in the middle, that would be the middle of the night. So some end the Isha at that time. Others say Maghrib ends once the redness in the sky disappears. So you can say half an hour after Maghrib, the time of Maghrib is over. But the Isha don't set in until later. So you've got multiple differences. So speaking purely from a Hanafi perspective, these are the times, the awqat likulli salat, the time for each salah. So as long as a woman is within that time frame, she will make that wudu and make her salah accordingly. And like I say, whatever nafil salah she wants to do, whatever recitation of the Quran, anything she wants to do that requires wudu, she can do it all perfectly fine with that wudu, provided that she does not do something else now that breaks a wudu. That's basically simple, straightforward, that in a state of istihada, that's all that needs to be done. So that's the first hadith. We'll move on to the next one. Hadith number 346. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها مرفوعا. There's another hadith on the same note. Hadra Aisha رضي الله عنها, مرفوعا means she's reporting it from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now this is a bit of a lengthy hadith. It's cut short over here. The narration is actually regarding Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh رضي الله عنها. And then she came to Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha. Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha now takes it, relates the question to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and thus you see the answer that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives by saying, "Quli laha, quli laha." You, a woman, you tell her. In other words, Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha was the go-between. So Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh radiallahu anha, she came to Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha. Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha brought the question to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam answered Hadrat Aisha radiyallahu anha. Hadrat Aisha radiyallahu anha relayed the answer to Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh radiyallahu anha. That's how it went from 1, 2, 3, 4 in that manner. So any case, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Hadrat Aisha radiyallahu anha, قولي لها فلتدعي الصلاة في كل شهر أيام قرئها. Or at least let me put it a bit more in perspective, because otherwise the narration may not make all that much sense. Hazrat Fatima binti Abi Huwaysh radiyallahu anha, she was bleeding for 2 years, 2 years straight. You know, it was going on for 2 years that her bleeding was running one-way ticket, and this was all in the early days of Islam. To a degree, because as you know, as time went on, ahkam came in slowly. So even though this was the time Hadra Aisha radiallahu anha was married to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so we know it's already in Medina and all of that sort of stuff. So more than 15 years, you can say, of Islam has already gone by at this point in time, but it's still in essence early in the sense that many ahkam, I mean, you take the laws of riba, and riba was the last of the ayat of the Quran to be revealed. So, you know, it's like masail and ahkam were coming down all the time. So the laws of istihadah were not yet established. So Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh radiyallahu anha, she was going now for a long time, not performing salah because she thought she's in hayd the whole time. There was no set, you know, minimum tuhur, maximum hayd. There was no such rulings and stuff at the time. Thus, the fact that she was bleeding going on for 2 years, she was like, she came to Aisha radiallahu anha and she said that I fear I'm going to be cast into Jahannam. I'm not performing salah for so long. You know, it's like everybody's performing salah, but I'm bleeding like this every single day of my life. I'm going to be cast into Jahannam. There must be something wrong, you know, that sort of thing. What can I do? So she came now, and Aisha radiallahu anha told her, hold on, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam will come soon, and you know, we can then get this sorted out. So she came, she brought the question to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and thus the ahkam of istihadah comes in. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells her, فَلْتَدَعِ الصَّلَاةَ فِي كُلِّ شَهْرٍ أَيَّامَ قُرْئِهَا. To tell her that she should not perform salah every month, أَيَّامَ قُرْئِهَا, the time, the amount of her qur, you know, her amount. Now, how we work this out is 10 days. The maximum haid is 10 days. So we say 10 days is her haid, and everything thereafter is istihadah. So qur, thalathata quru, you know, it's the same word which is being used. So ayama qur'iha. We're not really referring here to so much her habit. You may find other ulama holding that viewpoint according to her habit, but here, because it's been going on for 2 years, so therefore this mas'ala comes in, that a woman whose blood is unending, every single day it's just bleeding the whole time. In this case, what she does is 10 days becomes hayd. The rest now becomes istihadah. So 10 days is hayd, immediately tuhur comes in. Tuhur lasts its period out, and then hayd comes in. You know, then it goes on like this. So, but anyway, she will leave of performing salah for her period, which, like I say, will be 10 days. ثم لتغتسل في كل يوم غسلا واحدا. Then she should make a ghusl every day, one ghusl. So in the morning, for example, she wake up before Fajr, she makes one ghusl, finish. Then ثم الطهور عند كل صلاة. Then she will purify herself for every salah. Purify here meaning making wudu. So this is a incident that I would say is, or at least the ulama would say, not me, I don't make up my rulings, but two things. One, it is mansukh. Two, or mansukh in the sense that she has to make a ghusl every day. We know in a woman in a state of istihadah, she don't need to make a ghusl every day. She only needs to make wudu. So one of two things, depending on how the ulama make jama' between the narrations. So they would say one. Number one, this was early days and this one was abrogated, replaced with she only needs to make wudu. So you find that viewpoint amongst the ulama. Number two, others would say no, it's not abrogated, but rather she make a ghusl every day is something which is mustahab. It's good if she makes a ghusl every day, but it's not a requirement for purity for her to make a ghusl every day. So that is what is being referred to as ثم لتغتسل في كل يوم غسلا واحدا. So anyway, coming back to the narration. So let her make a ghusl every day, one ghusl. ثم الطهور عند كل صلاة. Then let her purify herself at the time of every salah. Once again, refer back to the previous hadith. The time, as in from point A to point B, wherein you are permitted to perform that particular salah, that is referred to as the time of the salah. So this narration is being brought in to further cement the point that عند كل صلاة, as in the salah time, rather than the actual performance. It takes you 2 minutes, boom, you've made your maghrib, your wudu is broken. No, referring to the time rather than the actual salah itself. So she makes a wudu for the time of each salah. وَلْتُنَظِّفْ وَلْتَحْتَشِي. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, let her clean herself. نظف ينظف تنظيف, which is الثوب نظيف. If you're doing Medina Arabic course, you're going to come across the المنديل واسخ and all that sort of thing. The handkerchief is dirty and the clothing is clean. So الثوب نظيف, you're going to come across it. So while to نظف is that same word being put on the pattern of to let her clean herself. In other words, because a woman has been bleeding, let her clean the blood. And while تحتشي, تحتشي حشو means like filling, but not filling as people may think. If you were to talk it in the context of pillows, it refers to the stuffing of a pillow. So in this context over here, it refers to what a woman would be using and they call as a pad. So let her clean herself of the blood and let her use a clean pad to use it in the as try and not be too overly explicit things, but nonetheless, just to have the mas'ala clear, clean herself, make a ghusl. Obviously, a first time ghusl is a requirement. There is no question about that. She has to make one ghusl after to come out of the hayd. So she made her ghusl, then it's mustahab if she makes a ghusl every day. Or it's abrogated, like I mentioned. That's that. Then she will make a wudu for the time of each salah. She will clean herself, obviously. These things are natural, it's normal. It doesn't mean she must go and clean herself 5 times a day, or that she must go and change 5 pads a day. No, not at all. But it's referring to the fact that let her clean herself, because obviously you just come out of a state of haid. So clean away the blood and apply a pad. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes on to explain, فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ دَاءٌ عَرْضٌ أو ركضة من الشيطان أو عرق انقطع. That this bleeding that a woman experiences for so long, it is a da'un ardun. It is like an illness that she has. Or rakdatu min shaitan. Or it is like shaitan poking her, and that's what causes her to bleed. Or irqun inqata'a. Or it is like a vein or an artery, as we would say in our terms, a vein which has been cut. So in other words, this is not the blood of haid that she's experiencing. Yes, she's having blood, but it's not haid blood that she's having. So what you understand that you can bleed because of an illness, you can bleed because of shaitan, you can bleed because of a vein or an artery that's bleeding. Let's call it by an artery. It makes more sense for the normal person to understand, because you bleed. Okay, maybe not the heavy arteries, you have bled out and died, but anyhow. So nonetheless, the point of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioning these things is just simply to show us that the blood which goes beyond this point is not deemed as being hayd, it is deemed as being istihaadhah. So therefore, the rulings with regards to such blood is that clean it, don't worry about it, it's not hayd, you are not in a state of impurity, you can enter into a masjid. Yeah, okay, obviously women are not performing their salah in the masjid, but you get the picture. It's not like it's impure, you are in a state of najasa, like a man if he's in a state of janaba, needing a ghusl, you mustn't come and sit in the masjid, or a woman in a state of haid, she's not supposed to sit in the masjid, that sort of thing. So the woman in a state of istihada is not like that because she is pure. So that's what is being referred to. Nonetheless, so رواه أبو عبد الله الحاكم في مستدركه كما في كنز العمال وإسناده صحيح على قاعدة كنز العمال المذكورة في الخطبة في خطبته أو في الخطبة. Okay, so nonetheless, that's the narration. Imam Abu Abdullah al-Hakim, Imam Hakim in his Mustadrak, he is the narrator of this hadith, and the chain of narration is authentic according to the principles of Imam Muttaqi al-Hindi that he mentions in Kanzul Ummal. Okay, let's move on to the next one. حديث number 347. حدثنا علي بن محمد وأبو بكر بن أبي شيبة قالا حدثنا وكيع عن الأعمش عن حبيب بن أبي ثابت عن عروة بن الزبير عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت جاءت فاطمة بنت أبي حبيش إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إني امرأة أستحاض فلا أطهر أفأدع الصلاة. Okay, so going back, starting from the beginning, the narration is reported by Ali ibn Muhammad and Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, as you know his kitab. The two of them report from Imam Waqi', who is Imam Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah, the teacher of Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam of the Hanafi madhab. Imam Waqi', he reports from Imam al-A'mash, famous Imam, from Imam Habib ibn Abi Thabit, who reports from Imam Urwa ibn Zubayr, from Hadra Aisha radiyallahu anha. Same incident, just slightly different in the sense. So in this narration, Hadra Aisha radiyallahu anha, she said that Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh radiyallahu anha, she came to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and she said that Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I am a woman, I have istihada and I don't become pure. In other words, I'm bleeding one way and I don't become pure. Afa ad'u salah, should I stop performing salah? قال لا إنما ذلك عرق وليس بالحيضة اجتنبي الصلاة أيام محيضك ثم اغتسلي وتوضئي لكل صلاة وإن قطر الدم على الحصير. رواه ابن ماجه. وفي تهذيب التهذيب أهل الحديث اتفقوا على ذلك يعني على عدم سماعه حبيب منه عروة. Okay, so nonetheless, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam replied to Hadrat Fatima binti Abi Hubaysh radiyallahu anha, telling her that this bleeding, don't stop the performance of your salah in your istihada, because innama dhalika irqun, that is a vein which is bleeding. Walaysa bil haydati, walaysat bil haydati, as another narration mentions, that's not hayd that you're experiencing. So ijtanibi salata ayyama mahidiki, that abstain from salah during the days of your hayd. In other words, which is like what we said previously, the 10 days, which is the maximum. So stay away from performing salah during those days. Thereafter, ثم اغتسلي, then make a ghusl. وتوضئي لكل صلاة, and make a ghusl for every salah. I mean, a wudu for every salah. So this narration puts it again in perspective as we know it. One ghusl, then wudu thereafter. One wudu for every salah, but one ghusl, and that suffices. Not a ghusl for every day. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes on to add extra emphasis for the sake of effect, but nonetheless it is physical as well. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, وَإِن قَطَرَ الدَّمَ عَلَى الْحَصِيرِ, even if the blood drips onto the musalla. Hasir means a straw mat. Sahaba radiallahu anhum didn't have Turkish padded memory foam carpets. There was no things of that sort. People performed salah on the floor, on the sand. And a common thing that they used to perform salah on, which we use as we call today a salat mat, a musalla, it used to be a hasir, a straw mat. Hadrat Anas radiallahu anhu, for example, his mother was Hadrat Sulaim radiallahu anha, and they had in their house a hasir. And you know that hasir was taken out and cleaned for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed salah in the house with them for the sake of barakah. So it is established as a sunnah to perform salah on the floor and to perform it on a musalla. Both are from the sunnah. Some people may try and make it seem as if and the musalla is not from the sunnah, but this hasir, that you go and you put down something to perform salah on, it was something that was done by the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Thus, the musalla is from the sunnah. And if you perform it without the musalla, as long as the place is clean, then too it is from the sunnah. So anyway, so the point here is that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, even if the blood drips onto the musalla, you continue on with your salah, it doesn't affect anything. So obviously, we're talking in a time when people had one cloth. That was the sum total of their possessions in the whole world. A man had one cloth. If he covered himself, if he were to wash that cloth, he has nothing else in the whole world as a possession. So, you had Sahaba who were in this position. So nobody had, this, this brand and that brand and this pad and this. There was no such thing. It would be a piece of cloth, some cotton, like that. That is what the pad used to be. So the people used what they had, and obviously not everybody was rich. So you may have a thin piece of cloth over there, and then the blood comes right through it. That's what essentially is coming down to the point. It doesn't mean go just and bleed and they have the whole place covered in blood. We don't refer to that at all, but it's used for the sake of effect, to show that even if the blood was running one way ticket and dripping there on the floor, it does not affect anything. Your wudu is still intact. That bleeding will not affect your wudu. Yes, if your nose bled now, for example, that would be something separate, and that one drop from your nose breaks your wudu. But that whole carpet full of blood of istihaadhah don't affect your wudu at all. That's the distinction to be made over here. That this is a person is known as being a ma'adhur, someone who is excused. So, for example, you have a person who has incontinence, so he can't hold back, he needs to wear adult nappies. So this is incontinence. It is an illness. So you can go and a few minutes you go look, and then a drop has come out. So a person who has incontinence is deemed as being a ma'adhur, as a result of which he makes a wudu for every salah, similar to the case of a woman in istihaadhah. So that's what is being referred to. But if he goes down to the toilet, then obviously his wudu is gone. You're not going to say, well, he's been dripping here, so no. So in a like manner, the fact that a woman has her istihaadhah and that blood drips out, that is excused, because she's in the specific case that she's got an excuse. She's got her get out of jail free card with regards to that. But any other nullifier of wudu breaks a wudu straight away, she needs to go then and make another fresh wudu. So anyway, that is what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, even if the blood drips onto the straw mat. Imam Ibn Majah rahimahullah is the narrator of this hadith. Is mentioned in Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. Tahdhib al-Tahdhib is written by Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah. It's an abridged version of Tahdhib al-Kamal fi Asma' al-Rijal of Imam al-Mizzi rahimahullah. And Imam Ibn Hajar, he abridged it because Tahdhib al-Kamal is a massive kitab, and Imam Ibn Hajar abridged it, and Tahdhib al-Tahdhib is massive in its own right. Imam Ibn Hajar then abridged it even further, and that is Taqrib al-Tahdhib, where you have a one line, not one line, but one paragraph per narrator that is found in the 6 books of Hadith. So nonetheless, it's mentioned in Tahdhib al-Tahdhib by Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah that the Ahlul Hadith, the ulama of Hadith, ittafaqu ala dhalik, they are unanimous on this. يعني على عدم سماعه منه. The ulama are unanimous that Imam Habib ibn Abi Thabit did not hear directly from Imam Urwa ibn Zubayr. There is a narrator which is missing. So, in other words, there's a missing link in this chain of narration. That's what Imam Ibn Hajar is essentially saying. So, this is being mentioned here for the sake to point out a slight hidden defect, so to speak. You don't notice it, but despite the fact that there was a close age between the two, but he did not hear directly from him. So obviously Imam Habib ibn Abi Thabit heard it from someone who heard it from Imam Urwa ibn Zubayr. And that is why he mentions this point here. But Malana Zafar, he says now, okay, our time is almost out, so we'll end in a moment. I'm just going to read this last paragraph. قلت رجال السند رجال الجماعة غير علي، وفي نصب الراية وقال صاحب التنقيح رواه الإسماعيلي ورجاله رجال الصحيح. Mulana Zafar Ahmad Thanvi says that the narrators in this chain of narration are the Rijal al-Jama'ah. And I've mentioned this before in the past. Al-Jama'ah, when used in the terminology of hadith, refers to Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nasai, and Ibn Majah. When all six of them are mentioned together, then they are referred to as Al-Jama'ah. Not the Al-Jama'ah party, but Al-Jama'ah, as in the six muhaddithin, the narrators of the big six books of hadith. So there's many other books of hadith, but when these six are referred to, they refer to as al-jama'ah. So the narrators in this whole chain of narration are people who are found in the six books of hadith except for Ali. Now the narration begins from let's just see, as you see here, حدثنا Ali ibn Muhammad. Now Ali ibn Muhammad is the only one, but Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, like I said, he's an Imam of hadith in his own right, but nonetheless, so he says everyone is from the uh, narrators found in the six books of hadith. In other words, if somebody is found in Bukhari and in Muslim, then you know automatically he's authentic. That's basically a nutshell of what is being mentioned. But nonetheless, he says he's mentioning Nasruraya of Imam Az-Zaylai, rahimahullah. He says the Sahib al-Tanqih has mentioned that Imam al-Ismaili has narrated it. Imam al-Ismaili is one of the famous Imams of hadith. The mustakhraj of Imam Bukhari, Sahih, and things of the sort. Imam Ismaili plays a big role over there. But anyway, Imam Ismaili reports it and he says, Rijaluhu, Rijalu Sahih, and the narrators are the narrators of the Sahih, meaning the narrators are the same ones found in Bukhari, so therefore there's no harm in it. That's in essence what the crux is being said here. In other words, what's all the point of all of this? The point of all of this is simply to say the hadith is authentic, finishing the story. So from a hadith perspective, ulama of hadith, they go through all of this to clarify things. For the normal man in the street, you just need to know the hadith is authentic. But anyhow, so that summarizes this chapter, and it's the end of the chapter. Next week we'll do a new chapter, inshallah. But nonetheless, for tonight, inshallah, we've completed this chapter. I normally mention it. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but anytime you have any questions, you're welcome to ask your questions. You don't have to wait till the end of the class or anything. You're welcome to ask your questions at any point in time. But that being said, we end then for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Until next time, we end and we say, وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.